Welcome in everyone. In today's video, we're giving you guys a complete beginner's guide for Zero Sievert, which recently celebrated its 1.0 release. I'll be going over the basic and intermediate mechanics and systems that all beginners should know, some of which the game neglects to tell you despite it increasing your survival chances tenfold. I'll also be giving out tips throughout the video for new players, such as recommendations for starting loadouts, hideout upgrade suggestions, and even helping you through your first raid and finish your first quest. Very quickly before we begin though, for those of you who don't know, Zero Sievert is a tense, semi-hardcore top-down extract shooter that challenges you to survive in a radioactive wasteland. Fight against humans and radioactive monstrosities as you loot for supplies, materials to upgrade your weapons and hideout, or quest items to progress the storyline. Choose from a wide variety of weapons, armors, and even ammo types to help you get the job done and survive another day. We're going to be starting from the very beginning with this guide, which is where you start a new game and select a difficulty. I won't be going over any specific setting adjustments here, I just mostly wanted to point out that you will not actually lose anything on death in this game like other extract shooters. That is, unless you choose the hardcore difficulty, where you'll drop everything you brought in should you die. In Zero Sievert, death will simply reset your inventory back to how it was just before you left on your raid. Any player or weapon EXP that you earned will be kept as well, so don't worry too much about losing your precious stuff. Once you've selected your difficulty, you'll be prompted to select a starting inventory preset. The biggest difference between each preset is the starting weapon, so choose whichever one catches your interest the most. The starting armor does not matter, as you can easily loot class 3 armor from enemies as early as your first raid and repair them to full durability for a small fee from an in-game vendor. Personally, I would recommend the sniper preset as it comes with a high damage bolt action sniper rifle with great early game ammo, which allows you to one-shot headshot almost every enemy in the first map. It also comes with a backup pistol for close quarters combat, and most importantly, a sniper scope that lets your shots be instant and pinpoint accurate when scoped. After we've selected our starter preset, we're immediately thrown into the main hub. This is Zero Sievert, a bunker and safe haven for survivors in this wasteland. We're immediately called out by the barkeep, who gives us our first quest to kill some wolves and extract from the first map, the forest. Go ahead and accept this quest as it begins the game's main storyline, which will unlock other factions to trade with and quest for, as well as other maps which offer greater challenge and loot. However, before we just jump right into it, let's go over some things that you'll find in the bunker, such as other traders. When you first start off, you'll only have 2 traders unlocked, the barkeep and the doctor. The barkeep will sell you food, water, ammo, armor, backpacks, and some weapons. He'll also offer to refill your hunger and thirst bar for a small fee. The barkeep also offers various quests that are tied to the game's main storyline. The doctor will sell you medical supplies like healing to restore your health, wound recovery items to remove wounds that lower your max HP, band-aids to patch bleeds, and radiation meds to lower your radiation. We'll explain all those mechanics a bit later if you're confused. The doctor will also sell some radiation-resistant armor and backpacks, as well as offers to heal any radiation, wounds, or missing HP that you have for a price. The doctor will also repair any level 3 or lower armor for a fee. There are 2 additional traders that you can unlock as you progress through the storyline, which belong to each army faction in-game, the Green Army and the Crimson Corporation. Each trader sells their faction's respective weapons, ammo, armor, gear, and attachments. Now, you may have noticed that you can't immediately buy everything in a trader's inventory, as the higher end gear like this armor is locked behind a reputation requirement. Every faction has their own reputation progress, which you can see from this menu. You gain reputation by completing quests for that faction or by selling goods to that faction's trader, and you lose reputation by killing that faction's troops. If your reputation with a faction drops too low, their troops will fire at you on sight, which happens once the reputation bar reaches this red area. However, the Green Army and Crimson Corporation will both hold their fire upon seeing you when you first start off, as you're neutral with them both. Obvious faction traders aside, the barkeep is the trader for the loners, and the doctor is the trader for the scientists. And currently, we cannot improve our bandit reputation nor trade with them. In addition to your traders, there is also this quest-giving NPC called the Networker. The Networker gives you 2 quests each day for each faction that you have unlocked. These quests are great when you're first starting out, as they could give you hideout upgrade materials, weapon attachments, or good ammo for your weapons. But more importantly, these daily quests will reward you with a lot of faction reputation upon completion. So I'd suggest you start doing these early on so that you can quickly unlock high tier things like the Siva armor from the Scientist faction. In addition to traders and quest NPCs, you also have your little hideout in the bunker. Here you have your stash to keep your hard-earned loot and a workbench for various crafting recipes such as food, meds, and bullets. At the workbench, you can also modify your weapons, so take a second to attach any desired parts to your gun should your starter kit have come with anything. Your hideout also has 6 areas where you can install upgrades as seen from this tab. Each of these upgrades gives you various buffs, unlocks crafting recipes at the workbench, or gives you crafting materials each day. Each hideout upgrade is craftable at the workbench under the various modules tab. For example, let's look at what we need for our level 1 stash upgrade. It'd be a pain to remember each item, especially as we're new to the game, so go ahead and click the track button down here. This will highlight every item you need to craft this upgrade, which eases the burden for us when we're looting. Going back to the various hideout upgrades, you need to first install them from this screen, then use the respective module upgrade to actually install it in your hideout. And the catch with these upgrades is that you don't have space to install every upgrade, so you'll have to pick and choose which ones you want. Don't worry about it too much though, as you can swap them out when you want and you'll get some crafting materials back if you do so. The base upgrades are a pretty important part that defines your playstyle, so I'll take a few minutes now to go over all the base upgrades as well as point out which ones I'd recommend to aim for. The infirmary unlocks various medication crafts and reduces your chances of getting a bleed in raid. At higher levels, it lets you slowly passively heal your HP and radiation up to a max of 5 HP and 0.02 radiation per minute. The kitchen unlocks various food crafts and reduces the rate at which your hunger and thirst decrease. It also increases the positive effects of full hunger and thirst while decreasing the negative effects of low hunger and thirst. At higher levels, the bonuses and reductions increase up to a 100% bonus for buffs and 50% reduction for debuffs. The ammo producer unlocks ammunition crafts and provides you with scrap ammo every day. At higher levels, better ammo crafts are unlocked and more ammo scrap is provided daily. The scavenger gives you random items every day. At higher levels, it gives you more items per day. The garden provides you with scrap medicine and scrap food every day. At higher levels, it provides more per day. The bedroom provides you with a better bed to sleep on. It restores energy, heals HP, wounds, and radiation faster than a normal bed, and you lose less hunger when sleeping. At higher levels, these bonuses are increased. Note that this only applies for this specific bed and not all beds in the bunker. The gym provides extra stamina, more carry weight, and reduces your fatigue drain rate. At higher levels, this buff is increased up to plus 20 stamina, 6 kilograms of carry weight, and 50% slower fatigue drain. The shooting range provides extra weapon damage and more weapon mastery EXP. At higher levels, this buff is increased up to 5% extra weapon damage and 20% extra weapon mastery EXP. The forge provides scrap material every day. At higher levels, it starts to provide scrap material, scrap weapons, and scrap armor, as well as increasing the amount given per day. At max level, it allows you to scrap items in raid at a 50% penalty. The workshop allows you to repair items and armor in the workbench at the cost of scrap. At higher levels, it reduces the materials needed for repair up to a 25% reduction. The recycling center gives you more materials when you scrap an item. At higher levels, the bonus increases up to an extra 40% per item scrapped. As for recommendations, I'd highly recommend getting an infirmary to craft better medicine, an ammo crafter to easily craft your own ammo, a forge to easily obtain scrap for crafting and repairing, and a workshop to allow yourself to repair high-tier armor for cheap. This would leave you with 2 extra slots to install whatever else you want, which is entirely up to your preference. Install a gym for more carry capacity, or maybe a kitchen to have easier access to good food to keep yourself going during those long raids. The only things I'd advise against are a bedroom, as faster sleeping recovery is negligible, as well as the recycler because it barely helps at early levels and is quickly rendered useless once you unlock a certain in-raid trader on the second map. Also, do note that you cannot skip a module tier. In order to reach level 2, you must first build and install a level 1 upgrade, then level 2 upgrade. You can't go straight to a level 2. Also, a lot of these upgrades require various types of scrap, which is obtained by right-clicking and scrapping an item while in the hub. Each scrap type is given by scrapping its respective item. Metal scrap from loot, weapon scrap from weapons, ammo scrap from bullets, and etc. While going over these hideout upgrades, a few of you may have noted that I said there's certain buffs and debuffs from your food and water. So let's go over those stats next. In the upper left, you'll see 5 icons. From left to right, they are your character's fatigue, health, food, water, and radiation level. There are 4 states for these icons except for health that indicate how healthy you are in that aspect. If it's green, then great. You'll even get a buff respective to that icon. If it's white, then you're okay. No buff, no debuff. If it's yellow, it's starting to get bad and you'll get a small debuff. When it's red, you need to fix it ASAP as you're getting a large debuff. From left to right, fatigue affects your stamina recovery and is restored by sleeping or eating specific foods. Green fatigue increases your stamina regain, while yellow or red fatigue decreases your stamina regain. Health is straightforward. When it hits 0, you die and is recovered via healing items. But there are a few extra mechanics for health in this game. If you take melee damage, you have a chance to be wounded, which will reduce your max health. These wounds are removed by using a respective wound recovery medicine, and taking any damage at all has a chance to leave you with a bleed, which constantly drains your health. Bleeds are removed by using bandages or high-tier healing items. Next is your hunger and thirst, which affects your carry weight and looting speed respectively. They're restored by eating their respective foods. Green increases your carry weight or looting speed respectively, while yellow or red decreases each respectively. And lastly, we have your radiation. The higher your radiation, the more likely you'll gain a bleed and start randomly losing HP. Green and white radiation has no chance of random bleeds, while yellow has a decent chance and red has a high chance. Lower your radiation with radiation medicine or some select food items. I will point out here that sleeping will also slowly refill your health, recover your wounds, and lower your radiation. So if you're sleeping to recover fatigue, you can utilize this to lower your healing bills. And since we're talking about sleeping, I'll point out that the game has a night and day mechanic. The sun starts setting at about 1800 and rises at 0600. It gets pitch black at night, so I wouldn't recommend it until you at least have some night vision goggles, which would go into this slot in your inventory and are toggleable with the N key. And a quick word about the inventory since we're here, you're limited to what you can carry by two main factors: your inventory size, which never changes, and your carry weight, which is affected by the bag you have. You can buy better bags from the various vendors, with the Doctor having the best early game backpack available for about 30,000 rubles. The more you're carrying, the faster your stamina bar will drain when you're sprinting. And if you go over your maximum carry weight, you'll only be able to walk. If you keep going past your max carry weight, then you won't be able to move at all. Now let's move on from the mundane stuff and get into the more interesting mechanics that involves the game's weapons. Zero Sievert has a lot of different weapons, and I'm not going to go over all of them in this video. All you need to know is that each weapon falls into a respective category, and doing damage with that weapon will earn you EXP for that weapon type. Leveling up your weapon skills gives you bonuses varying on the weapon type, but more importantly unlocks perks that every few levels can drastically change how the weapon performs. You can see what perks are unlocked for which weapon at the respective levels at this screen. Just click each colored node to see what perks are available at that level. This leveling system also exists for the player, meaning that every raid you complete will give you EXP, and when you eventually level up, you'll gain a skill point. You can spend this skill point to unlock perks that give you bonuses, such as more carry capacity, faster looting, built-in night vision, and more. Don't worry too much about allocating these skill points, as they can be changed freely for both weapon and player skills. Next, let's look at an actual weapon's stats. You'll see that each weapon has some straightforward stats, such as damage, bullet type, and rate of fire, but there are a few stats that aren't as clear with what they do, which we'll explain here. Every weapon has 5 listed stats: durability, damage, accuracy, recoil, and ergonomics. Durability is the health of your weapon and affects the accuracy, damage, and jamming chance of that weapon. Weapons will have a chance to jam at 70% durability and will have their damage and accuracy lowered based on durability up to a maximum penalty of 25% at 0 durability. Damage is damage, very straightforward. Accuracy represents how small the crosshair of the weapon is. Higher value is better. Recoil is how much the crosshair expands per shot fired. Lower value is better. Ergonomics is the time it takes to switch weapons and how long it takes for the crosshair to shrink after firing. Higher value is better. Armors also have some vague stat explanations, so we'll cover that too while we're on the subject. Armor durability is the health of your armor, and the lower the durability, the lower the benefits of your armor's class level. Your armor durability is lowered when you take damage. The class of your armor is a value between 1 and 6 and reflects what bullet penetration level your armor will block. If an armor is class 3, it will block bullets of penetration 2 and below. The lower your armor's durability, the less effect and chance you have of blocking bullets, to the point where a pen 1 bullet can get through a class 3 armor if the durability gets low enough. Each armor also has a fragility rating, which is how quickly an armor loses durability from incoming damage. A lower number is better. All the remaining stats and percentages are a bit more straightforward, as it simply lists that armor's ability to block that specific type of damage. Melee damage from monsters, radiation buildup from the environment to the point where you take no radiation buildup at all, and anomaly damage, which we'll cover a bit later on. There is no listed percentage reduction for bullet damage, as a bullet is either blocked completely or does full damage on penetration. And speaking of bullets, there are tons of calibers in Zero Sievert. Within these calibers, there are 4 different categories of bullets: subsonic, which have a reduced recoil but low overall stats; hollow point, which have more damage but low penetration; normal bullets, which have average stats all around; and armor piercing, which have high penetration but higher recoil or other drawbacks. You can see a bullet's penetration level, which shows what class of armor it can pierce through. If you have multiple compatible bullet types in your inventory for your weapon, you can change the loaded ammo by pressing the Y key by default. The game also has headshot damage, where you'll do increased damage if your bullet physically hits the enemy's head. There's also a glancing bullet mechanic, where if your reticule is not completely on an armored target, the bullet will graze off them and glance off, effectively getting blocked and doing no damage. Alright, we've gotten the technical stuff out of the way, and I hope some of you found that helpful, so let's finally get into our first raid. You'll want to head over to your stash and dump everything in there so we can prepare a bit easier. You're going to want to do what I refer to as your pre-raid phone wallet keys check. Make sure you have your weapon, a decent amount of ammo, HP healing, bandages for bleeds, and wound recovery as well. Place all your meds onto your hotbar, as it allows for a quick access and saves inventory space. Also, don't forget we want to build that first stash upgrade, so track the necessary materials and make sure you've accepted the first quest from the barkeep so we can get that started as well. Also, depending on how long you've spent in your hub, double check the current time to make sure you're not wandering into a night raid. Now that we're all set, go to the conductor and head out to the forest map. And once again, don't worry too much about dying, as your inventory will simply be reset to this exact point should you encounter an unfortunate fate. After loading in, you'll randomly spawn along these train tracks. Each raid is procedurally generated in Zero Sievert, and each map has their respective major points of interests, which we can identify on the map. For the forest map, we have the sawmill, which is teeming with bandits, and the village, which, long story short, you should avoid for now. You can also see most quest locations as well as all extract points. If you don't see a quest location marker, go back to the quest description and skim over the details to find out where it is you're actually heading, as sometimes the quest requires you to search for some unknown thing. For our case, we're simply hunting down wolves that randomly spawn on the forest map. So let's start searching, specifically in the forested areas, as that's where wolves will normally spawn. For our first raid, we're mainly trying to explore around and get our feet wet, so honestly explore as you please. Don't shy away from fighting some bandits you may encounter at various encampments, as they're normally guarding some decent boxes of loot, and are decent boxes of loot themselves. Be careful if you decide to fight any Green Army soldiers or Red Crimson Corporation soldiers, as they're much tougher than the ordinary bandits. Also, remember that they're neutral to you and won't fire on sight when you're first starting off, so you can just ignore them if you want. All the enemies are lootable and will at least drop their weapon, some ammo, their armor, and other miscellaneous goodies. Do note that any weapons and armor looted off enemies will have a low durability, so guns will have a high chance to jam, and armor will be mostly useless unless it's repaired by either you or the doctor. Now, as you're looting around, you might ask what's good loot and what's bad loot. The long story of it is that you don't really need to pay attention to that, as those player skills I mentioned earlier allow you to pick up a perk that lets you see the values of items while in raid, which takes about 5 decent raids to reach. However, if you really want to min-max your loot before that point, focus on looting any outlined items, since those are generally needed for your first stash upgrade. Past that, we loot for monetary value. Guns and armor generally sell well but are very heavy. Cigarettes, medicine, and injectors will be worth good money and are lighter. Now, while you wander around, remember how I said to avoid the village? That's because the village center is defended by the map's boss, Lazar, and his group of 4 heavily armed guards. Most maps have a boss, which is hard to take down but very rewarding to do so. Currently, we have Lazar on Forest, Armin on Makeshift Camp, Kiba on the Mall, and Valentin on the newest map Zakov. It's better to steer clear of the village until you have some decent armor and better weapons, but by all means, if you want to check it out, then go for it. If you're decent enough and with some practice, Lazar and his guards are completely winnable if you started with a sniper loadout. Some maps also have friendly NPCs like Igor on the forest map. They're not marked on the map at first, so it takes some luck to stumble upon them, but once you've found them, they're permanently displayed in future raids. These NPCs can be very helpful, as once you help Igor, he'll have an assortment of items waiting for you at his house in future raids, and there's an extremely useful trader on the second map, Makeshift Camp, that can help you with collecting scrap and materials for early game upgrades. As you're wandering around the forest, you may encounter these orange or green anomalies. These are the result of radioactivity on the surface, and are essentially danger areas filled with traps, but also contain valuable crystals for selling or crafting. Orange indicates a fire anomaly, and green indicates a toxic anomaly. You can navigate through these anomalies by throwing decoys with the G key, which activate any anomaly trap they pass through. These traps do not disappear, so use these decoys to plot a safe path towards the crystals. Generally speaking, green anomalies are easier to path through since the traps are always shown. Orange anomalies are a bit harder to get through, as the traps are only shown for brief moments via an orange floating orb. Also, if you're lucky, you may hear an airdrop occur while you're in raid. Once an airdrop occurs, a large area in your map will be marked as the airdrop location. Search this area to find the airdrop and secure your goodies inside. And once you're content with your haul, make your way to extract to safely get back home. And once you're back home, offload your haul accordingly, and sell anything else you don't want to whichever trader that you want to level. Don't forget to turn in any completed quests if you finished any, and be sure to heal up and repair your armor at the doctor, as well as top off on your food and water at the barkeep. I'd recommend healing and topping off after every raid, as it's relatively cheap to do so, and you always want your armor to be at 100% durability. Store anything else you want to keep in your stash, and feel free to track anything else you want to craft from the workbench. Then, rinse and repeat from your pre-raid phone, wallet, and keys check. Restock on meds and ammo, double check everything is full and fixed, and head back out for another raid. I'd suggest you continue with 3 priorities in mind. First should be to collect materials for upgrading your stash size. Second should be making enough money to buy a good bag from the doctor for about 30,000 rubles. And third, complete your story quests from the barkeep to advance the game and unlock new maps and traders. And before we wrap things up, here are some beginner tips to help you get started. Trader inventories and money restocks daily, so buy out what you want before you sleep for the in-game day. Traders also share the same money pool. Don't forget to level your player and weapon skills, as they're big game changers. They can be reset for free, so don't worry too much about being locked into something you don't want. Equipped weapons weigh less than weapons in your inventory, so equip a heavier gun if you're starting to reach your weight limit. Once you find yourself needing a lot of scrap, find Mr. Junk in the makeshift camp map. He's down a manhole that randomly spawns. He sells lots of junk and random loot needed for hideout upgrades. His stock also resets daily with other traders. You may find secret stashes that look like a pile of sticks while wandering around. Loot these for various goodies. Teleport around the base with the H button to save some time. And no, this doesn't work while in raid. Thanks for watching, guys. If you found the video helpful, make sure to leave a like and a subscribe. If there's anything I didn't explain well, or if you have a question on something that I didn't cover in the video, feel free to ask me in the comments. Good luck and happy scavenging.